Shalom, and welcome to Light of the Hill Ministry. And in today's teaching, we will be continuing on with our study of Genesis. If you want to follow along, I will be posting this in the comment box below. And now, under the teaching. And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and guard it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, Eat of the tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Genesis 2, verses 15 through 17. Man was given the clear responsibility to work and guard, to do all that Elohim has commanded. And so too, we need to recognize that this mandate to work and guard still applies to us, and therefore we are to make sure that we do not become lazy and neglect to hear, guard, and do all he commands. The Hebrew root word that is used here for work is abad, Strong's H5647, meaning to work, serve, observe, do the work, cultivate, worship, and carries the understanding of expending considerable energy and intensity in performing a task or function. In other words, giving it your all, which we have already discussed. The Hebrew root word for guard is shamar, Strong's number 8104. It carries the meaning keep watch, observe, perform, protect, pay attention. And the basic idea of the root of this word is to exercise great care over, as we have already discussed. It wasn't as if man didn't have anything to do. No, Yahweh put him there to dress the garden, to keep it. Some people picture his kingdom to come as just playing harps and twiddling thumbs, as if there's not going to be anything to do. Though Yahweh will have us once again tend the earth. Only when we enter into the kingdom will there be less labor and less toil. The kind of back-breaking labor didn't come until after man had sinned. Up to then, it was just a matter of taking care of it, a caretaker, and dressing it and keeping it. Now, we must understand that Yahweh didn't say to Adam, I want you to go and destroy all I created. I cut down the trees. No, he wanted Adam to appreciate it, and thus guard it to the best of his ability. After all, Adam was to help Yahweh in building a family and make sure the house was in shape, prepared for that family to live in. Like the priest in Yahweh's tabernacle, Adam was the man on Yahweh's ground, serving him. So Adam's work was actually his worship, a way for him to serve Yahweh in his set-apart tabernacle called earth. And like Adam, we too are to work the earth in serving him. And we are to do it heartily, as to the master, and not to men, knowing that from the master you shall receive the reward of the inheritance. It is the Master Messiah you serve. Colossians 3, verses 23 through 24. Believers are to consider their work as being done for Messiah, not for their manager or employer or customer or even their spouse. Our work, the quality and goodness of it, is a form of worship. Whomever you work for is symbolic for Messiah. It should fill all those who believe in Messiah with deep inspiration for the work at hand. Worship is the process of surrendering your entire life to Yahweh's hand. Everything you do can and should be an act of surrendering to Him. Let that sink in for a minute. Serving others is not just about doing something for them. It is an opportunity to help others focus on Yahweh. We are designed to worship Him with our whole being, as Paulos teaches us. I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living offering, set apart, well-pleasing to Elohim, your reasonable worship. Romans 12, verse 1. So it is more than just bowing down to someone or singing songs and praying to Yahweh. It is also an action of surrendering or presenting your bodies as a living offering to Him every day, all day, with all we have to Him. Kephas, or as he's commonly called, Peter tells us, as each one has received a gift, serve one another as good trustees of the manifold favor of Elohim. If anyone speaks, let it be as the words of Elohim. If anyone serves, let it be as with the strength with which Elohim provides, so that Elohim might be praised in it all through Yahushua Messiah, to whom belong the honor and the rule forever and ever. Amen. 1 Peter 4, verses 10 through 11. The only reason we can love others is because of how we are loved by Yahweh. In serving others, we are ultimately loving them. And in verse 8 of 1 Peter, it says that, above all, have fervent love for one another, because love covers a great number of sins. 1 Peter 4:8. This verse tells us that love covers a great number of sins. It is not that those sins aren't there, but the focus we are to have for that person is how to love them deeply, and not focus on how they are not worthy of love because of their sins. We're not worthy of Yahweh's love for us, yet He loved us so deeply that He sent His Son to die for us. It is with this love that we can love others and build the family He so desires. We reflect Yahweh's image when we serve others, because it is His heart, His desire to include every person into His kingdom. And working to guard people, how then can we serve them? Because Yahweh still commands us to serve and guard His people. We need to know ways in which we can cultivate that guard in order to bring people into His kingdom. There are several ways we can go about doing that. This may sound redundant, but the first thing we need to do in order to serve others is to know that you are just that, a servant, and not one who is to be served. We can serve others well when we actively decide to take on the role of a servant. This seems obvious, but missing this step can lead to doing more harm than good. When we study the life of Yahushua, we find countless examples where He took on the role of the servant. So when He had washed their feet and tinted His garments, and sat down again, He said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and master, and you say, well, for I am. Then if I, master and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example that you should do as I have done to you." John 13, verses 12 through 15. Messiah continually humbled Himself for the sake of others, and changing your mindset to one who thinks they need to be served to one who serves puts us a lot more in line with the example of Yahushua. The second thing we need to do in order to serve others is take the time to listen, as Yaakov, or as he's commonly called, James, tells us. So then, my beloved brothers, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. 1 James 1:19. The best thing we could do is take the time to get to know people and honor them with a listening ear. If we skip this step, we make it a lot more about the good feeling we get from helping than we do about actually serving someone else. In serving others, we want to be about bringing others into the kingdom, not about how we look to the king. And the simple act of listening is a very powerful way to serve. The next thing we need to do in order to serve others is to have concern for others, even if it costs you something. That there should be no division in the body, but that the members should have the same concern for one another. And if one member suffers, all members suffer with it. Or if one member is honored, all the members rejoice with it. 1 Corinthians 12, verses 25 through 26. When we listen to others, their needs might surprise us, but simply making the statement, let me know how I can help, we're opening ourselves up to a world of needs, not just the ones that are convenient or fit nicely in the time we've allotted to help. This often requires us to drop our own agendas, and it may cause us to serve in ways that stretch us beyond simply where we see ourselves as gifted. The fourth thing we need to do in order to serve others is to recognize that we're not the whole solution to one's problems. Replying, Yeshua said, a certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among robbers, who both stripping and beating him, went away, leaving him half dead. And by coincidence, a certain priest was going down that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise, a Levite also, when he came to the place and seeing, passed by on the other side. But a certain Shemonite journeying came on him, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him, and went to him and bandaged his wound, pouring oil and wine, and having placed on him his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and looked after him. And going out on the next day, he took out 2 denarii, gave him to the innkeeper, and said to him, look after him, but whatever more you spend I shall repay when I return. Who then of these 3 do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the robbers? And he said, one who showed compassion on him. Then Yeshua said to him, go and do likewise. Luke 10:30, verse 37. Sometimes when serving others, it can often be incredibly discouraging. We all have a natural inclination to want to either fix everything or create distance from what we can't fix. But when we seek to serve others in light of how Yeshua served us, we can take comfort in knowing we are rarely the whole solution, that we may be one small part of a much grander plan. To serve others well, we need to have faith that we're ultimately serving someone greater. And as Yeshua commanded, go and do likewise. Serving others means making space for others' existence and seeing them as valuable and worthy to serve and be served, simply because Yahweh views them that way. Remember, He is building a family here and now for His kingdom to come, and He expects us to serve with Him in the garden of others. Some He will use to prune us. Some He will use to water a bit. Some He will use to push you to dig deeper in the soil. Just understand, we are all at a place where we need the gardener in our lives, and we are his vessels in each other's lives. Just remember, when we are struggling to make sense of how we could ever live out the life of service to others, that whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Matthew 10, verse 39. May we all ask Yahweh to put us in the garden of others' lives and begin to serve them as Yahweh would want us to serve. Hallelujah. If you like this teaching, please comment, like, share, subscribe. Please click on the notification button to be notified of the next teaching. Yahweh bless and shalom to your homes.